Okay, I'm back with Mr. Katende trying to demystify concepts about life, trying to find the affinity and the definity of life, whether or not life has a purpose. These are questions that linger in our lives every day, and we begin to question ourselves, what is the true purpose of life? I want Mr. Katende to explain to us some concepts that he feels are on his heart in terms of what he feels. Let me give him the liberty to discuss what he has to say. Go ahead, Mr. Katende. Do the magic.
Really?
Yes, sir. You are on the hot spot, sir. Mr. Katende, do not ashamed. I told you last time that Katende was synonymous with people who are incredible in a way.
Yeah.
So please don't ashamed the likes of your friends, the Katende. Give them the magic, Mr. Katende.
Yeah, so I am very passionate about the youth.
Mm-hmm.
I am very passionate about life. I'm very passionate about seeing a change in my generation. We discussed in earlier episodes about the analysis of academia, a Canadian author who stated that in the 1950s, kids lost their innocence. They were liberated by their parents. They were liberated from their parents by well-paying jobs, cars, and lyrics in music. And that gave rise to a new term, a gap in the generation. In the 1960s, kids lost their authority. It was a decade of protest. Church, state, and parent were all called into question and found wanting. Their authority was rejected, yet nothing ever replaced it. In the 1970s, kids lost their love. It was a decade of meism, filled with hyphenated words that were beginning with self. Self-image, self-esteem, self-assertion. It made for a very lonely world. Kids learned everything there was to do about sex, forgot everything there was to do about love, and everything that generation had enough to tell them that there was indeed a difference. Because they had a very high self-esteem, and yet their self was empty.
Right.
In the 1980s, kids lost their hope. Stripped of innocence in the 50s, authority in the 60s, and love in the 70s, many of them stopped believing in the future. In the 1990s, kids lost their power to reason. Less and less of them were taught the objects of truth and logic, and they grew up with the irrationality of a postmodern world. In the new millennia, kids woke up and realized amidst all this change, they had lost their imagination. Violence and perversion entertained them until no one could talk about the killing of innocence, because none was innocent anymore.
Right.
Now, if you're to look at that social construct, a world of relativism where people question everything apart from themselves, what is the application of truth and how can it affect such lives in such a generational set? I believe personally that the highest principal value of a society is truth. The highest principal virtue of a society is love. And how we look at each other depends on the perception of truth that we have. So if anyone is able to redefine the truth for us, that essentially means that we are able to redefine our sense of purpose and our sense of meaning. So as we navigate through a very dark world, we've got to open our minds to see the bigger picture of life, to understand that being here is a privilege. Many people have gone dead and buried, and they wish they have the chance that we have currently to navigate the infrastructure and the minefield of ideas that currently exists on the planet, but they do not have a chance. I was telling you a little bit behind in the previous episodes about how all this wonder of nature reminds us of how great we are as human beings, of how different we are as human beings. I was telling you, I think in one of our conversations, about some of the huge stars out there. If you look at the sun, it's a star. You can fit 960,000 Earths within the sun.
Right.
If you look at another big star called Betelgeuse, it is 427 light years away from the Earth. You can fit over 260 trillion Earths within that. There is another huge star called Musifi. You can fit over 2.7 quadrillion Earths within there.
Wow.
And the largest star, one of the largest stars, is called Canis Majoris. You can fit 7 quadrillion Earths inside there. Now, yet all these Canis Majoris, Sirius, Antares, all the Dagisifi, all those huge stars have no evidence of life. It is only the small Earth that has an evidence of life. It is only here that people breathe, that hearts vibrate and stop. That makes us exceptional in our existence. But that essentially means that in the vast cosmos of the universe, we would then have a grand purpose, because it is only us that have exhibited an evidence of life.
Right.
The Earth rotates every day 1,000 miles per second. And every day we see night, every day we see day, we see seasons. Things come and things go. But the Earth doesn't stop
Right.
to move.
Right.
An indication that we have to keep pushing, we have to keep moving. When you look at the map of the world, the globe, according to the Mercator projection,
Yes.
you will realize that you only see majorly water bodies. 70.8, I think 70.8% of the universe is water. Of the Earth, sorry, is water. So you only see huge water bodies. You see nature, huge forests.
Right.
You see a lot of interesting stuff. You do not see the sorrow, you do not see the happiness, you do not see the pain. A huge reminder that there is something bigger than us as human beings. And so if you are existent on such a very privileged planet, you've got to put your purpose to use.
Right.
Exhaust the opportunity that you have. Stop worrying and start executing. Stop looking at yourself or identifying yourself by how you feel, and then start moving by what you believe.
Wow.
Because the world is much bigger than our feelings, much bigger than our emotions. It's a very huge, huge world. I told you that light travels at 186,000 miles per second. That's so fast, 8 minutes from the sun to the earth. And it's a privilege that we can see all these reactions happening. We can see the light of day, because even the longest night is put to rest
Right.
by the light of day.
Excellently said, Mr. Katende. And like he rightly put it, I think the focus is keep going, don't lose focus, keep trusting. He that began the great work in you will definitely bring it to accomplishment. I think it's Jeremiah 29:11. It says, "For I alone know the plans that I have for you, plans to prosper you and not to harm you, plans to bring about a future that you hope for." Even as I end, I would like to read a poem for you called "If" by Rudyard Kipling, which says, "If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you, if you can trust yourself when all men doubt you but make allowance for their doubting too, if you can wait and not be tired of waiting, or being lied but don't give in to lies, or being hated but don't give away to hating, and yet don't look too good nor talk too wise, if you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thoughts your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can walk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings nor lose the common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men can count with you but none too much, if you can feel the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth a distance run, yours is the earth and everything that is in it, and which is more, you will be a man, my son. Listen, my friend, we're not saying that we don't go through hustles, but we're only saying that even as you pursue your desire, your dream, keep moving and never give up.
I could also end by an example of a gentleman that started FedEx. This guy in 1965, around there, when he was pitching the idea of transporting goods across the world using planes, he had a challenge, mental representation. The professors never understood his work. They gave him a C. But as we talk now, it's a multi-billion-dollar company.
I know there's another professor, actually, not a professor, but an author who had been enrolled to do a PhD in some university in Zimbabwe. I forget the name. And when he made his proposition, his PhD was actually rejected by the professors because they felt it was substandard. And he walked out of the university very disappointed and went and wrote a book out of the very PhD, and the book became a bestseller. And then 5 years down the road, the same university that rejected him called him and gave him an honorary award, a PhD award. He refused to take it, so his wife take it. So even as you struggle, like the
same
minute,
applies to Jeff Bezos, the CEO of Amazon. He was giving a speech at Harvard Business School back in the days. And kids approached him, very smart kids, and told him that there is no way they saw Amazon outcompete Walmart. They advised him to sell. But as we talk now, of course, everyone knows how powerful or how rich Jeff Bezos has turned out to be. So sometimes the purposes that you have in life are much more complicated than what people can understand. You simply have to put your feet to the ground. You believe in yourself. You set the wheels into motion.
right.
And you keep moving. That alone will tell what kind of ideas that you have and the qualities of those ideas. Time is the revealer of everything.
And I think Dr. King rightly put it, he says that the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in terms of comfort and convenience, but where he stands in terms of controversy and challenges. And who knows, but the Bible says, a righteous man falleth 7 times, but the Lord does what? Raises him up. My friend,
And
it's
in
time
fact,
to raise up.
And in fact, I think it would be important for us to finish by telling people even how the United States of America, the powerful nation, came into existence. 13 small, squashy states looks at the great British Empire and stated liberty or death. No taxation without representation, the likes of Patrick Henry. It was said at the time that the United Kingdom was too great that even the sun would not shine on it. Yet, small people
Came up and
the
now,
likes of George Washington,
I know,
and now we see the United States of America.
incredible. And we hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal with certain inalienable rights. So even as you pursue in the pursuit of life, remember that, my friends. I think it was again Dr. Miles Monroe who says, die empty. And he said the wealthiest place on earth is the graveyard. Why the graveyard? Because people die with ideas that they should have actually brought into resonance, with books that they should have written. People ask us, why do you write now? We have 50 books running, right? Why do you keep writing? I will answer by simply saying, Bernard Shaw said, most people see things that they are and ask why. We dream of things that are not and ask, why not? God bless you. Thank you.